had tremendous luck to find people in my life that have nurtured me, have taught me a great schooling, give me an all-around artistic education. And then I always have found these angels around my life that had taken me to the next level. And then somebody else appeared and take me to the next level again. And so from that context, if you look at my life and where I come from, how humble my life, my past unfolded, the fact that we were not cultural family, the fact that I read my first book at the age of 25, and then you look at where I am now, directing the second largest company in the UK, is quite a blessing. It's like a fairy tale. The memories that I can share more vividly with you and that stands in my mind very vividly and that have been very important to me are those performances that I managed to share with my family, because at the age of 13 I almost was into exile, going to a different school, and so I lost that family connection somewhat. And then at the age of 16, I was already traveling to Italy, and then 18 to London, and so my life became very marked by the many travels that I undertook. I have had tremendous success and tremendous experience dancing in the best, the greatest companies in the world, but I always never had my family to share those performances, except a few. And one of them was when I managed to bring my family, especially my father, to see me perform Swan Lake at the Royal Opera House. And he was dressed in a tie and was very proud. And so for me to be able to give him this gift of seeing his son being the prince in a major and important opera house, it still stands in my mind as one of the most vivid memories. What I miss about Cuba, the simplicity, the innocence that people have, you know. There's something beautiful where you accept your world as being so simple and be happy with that somehow, you know. And then rely in giving more emphasis and pay more attention to the simple things, you know, that you normally take for granted, you know. And in Cuba, there's still room for a sunset, or in the sea bay, and you see the fishermen doing the fish, you know, and you just stay there looking, and then you see the time going by. There's something still that embodies that world of the past, where everything was more silent and had a lower pace, slower pace. I love all that, and I think almost the people are very good at projecting the happiness that the sun and the sea and the blue sky give you. So it's almost like an extension of that happiness in the way that they behave. And so it's very filled with joyful people somehow, even though that is very hard existence, you know, being a Cuban. I'm driven by my own intuition and also the necessity at the time. For instance, when I joined the Royal Ballet, I felt the necessity with the time that I had to spare to write. I didn't know how to write. And so I asked, you know, a friend of mine who sort of laughed at me when he heard this preposterous idea, you know, a dancer writing. And so he sort of discouraged me, and that's why I wrote 2 books after that. But again, out of the necessity of occupying my time wisely and keep growing as an artist, I realized that I had a lot of time to catch up, because I didn't know, you know, anything about all the manifestations of art, and I knew that if I wanted to make or be an artist at the highest level, I need to have an idea of the world a little bit. And so that's why I began to read and to write and all of that. And then at some point, you know, I had the necessity the necessity to create a bigger challenge for myself, and that's why the idea of choreographing began. And I choreographed a ballet called Tocororo, Cuban Tale. Then I went on to choreograph Don Quixote and Carmen in the Royal Opera House. And so I always try to find challenges for myself so that I can put myself in a road of almost like going on a quest and trying to find different ways in which to improve or which to deliver a new, much improved version of myself. And I think that is where the idea also of directing came from. So after I did the experience a little bit with choreography and to direct shows like Tocororo, which involve bands, editing music, and even an actress that had that show, and involved directing children. So for me, it was a very, very great learning process. I thought, well, I want to found my own company, but it wasn't planned. Like it's not. It wasn't like some of those people can see that that far into the future. For me, it wasn't like that. One step filled me with confidence to take another. When I knew that my retirement days from the Royal Opera House was approaching, I thought of what next? What can give me the same joy and fulfillment? And that's what I did. I thought, perhaps creating a legacy, a company as a legacy that you could leave behind and work with people from Cuba in my country, something that I could leave to my country that is destined to help artists from Cuba to share the greatest talent of Cuba to the world. That could be a major challenge and something really that I thought it was a beautiful way to give back to the country that had given me so much. And so that's why the ideas of directing came from and founding the company. Then once I found the company, then the job of directing the second largest ballet company of the UK came. I went for it, and now I am in this position. So I think this is how it has been, one step led to the other. I joined January 2020. 2 months later, lockdown happens. Big problem for my vision, for my planning. I immediately had to adapt and put everything aside. The lockdown and the virus, it seems that it's going to stay for a long time, whereas in the winter we thought that was going to be a few months, but now we know that it's going to be longer than that, even years. And so we had to adapt with that. And we're still adapting. But one of the major challenges was to put on the full-scale Nutcracker. Some other companies are doing more like a divertisement version, but we wanted to bring the full-scale Nutcracker with social distance audiences, but also with the full orchestra, as much as we can. And so we're still fighting for that. I'm very pleased that we have already, sold a lot of tickets for the Birmingham Rep, for the Nutcracker, which is essentially a third version from the two previous versions. So we got the original version of the Nutcracker by Peter Wright, which is stunning and designed by John McFarlane, and then the Royal Albert Hall version that David Bintley did, inspired of the traditional version that we have from Peter Wright. And now I'm coming up with a third version inspired of those two, so that it could fit at the Birmingham Rep, which is a smaller stage. There we got all the bubble system, that we had to contain at the back as well, stage with the crew and with the orchestra. So it's a big deal. Some of the design elements are going to be design elements from each production. The show has to be much more smaller. It's going to be without intermission, and probably it's going to last an hour and 10 minutes. And so we had to do some cuts. And so that is the main challenge. And then I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we could still deliver that at the Rep, because everybody's looking forward to it. There's fewer Christmas shows happening live, and it will be one of those few Christmas shows that are happening. I will be very happy, and I think it will be a great success for the company. challenge has always been a constant theme in my entire career. So, and I crave challenges. Because when you put yourself in a position that challenges you, and you manage to deal with all the pressure that involves, you learn a lot about yourself, your capacity, and I think that I always crave for that. And now I am in this position of juggling things, at a very, very large scale at the moment. But it's all about the team. It's all about having clear ideas, how you convey those ideas, have a clear path, a clear direction, so that everybody understands where you go, and then delegate. I think directing is like anything. It's know who the right people are for the specific job and let them get on with it and help you. And so that's what I'm finding out. And for me, it's a big, big learning process directing the Birmingham Royal Ballet at the moment, because I'm still trying to get to know my team as such and the dancers. And we started this part of the journey, and it's going to take a while until my vision is implemented. But I think it's great. I'm up to the challenge. Obviously I sleep less. But it's all right. It's okay. I'm still young, and I have a strength for it. So yeah, I'm happy. In the first year, I took about 4 dancers, new dancers coming. The majority came from the Royal Ballet School. We got Lucy Wayne, she's a lovely ballerina. Sofia Linares, Matilde Rodriguez, that came from Portugal, and Jose Perez as well, a boy from the Dominican Republic that I worked with him in Cuba, so I wanted to give him a chance. And also Xiaolun Wu as well, which is brilliant, also came from the Royal Ballet School. So for me, these are talent that could go higher in the ranks. And so that is the kind of, I want to obviously upgrade the standards of the company, and that is going to be useful in terms of the rep that I'm bringing. We need dancers that can adapt to the classical exigencies at the highest standard as much as the contemporary ones. And I'm bringing a lot of contemporary rep into the company, and so I need a dancer that can cope with that, with both changes. And again, it's just, I'm looking forward to bring guest teachers to help the dancers to raise their level. I'm gonna try to implement a system that we could easily, get the company to the next level, and that is, it's giving them constantly corrections and feedbacks, so that then those corrections are being implemented, and that's how you raise the standard. It's just about directing people. It's having a clear direction, what you want, and the people will solve that and put themselves into this road. We are going to the Royal Albert Hall. Possibly we are trying to see if we could somehow live a couple of shows and stream as well, if it's possible. But as a live event from the Royal Albert Hall. I think we've been very active on the digital front. I'm very happy that we're getting into this new phase, the digital era that is going to be the norm, from going forward for us. And so we're hoping that we could stream live, from the Royal Albert Hall, the Nutcracker this year, and then bring the magical Christmas back. In Cuba, being communist, we didn't have that ballet. It wasn't a big deal for us because we never celebrate Christmas. You know, that's the sad thing of being Cuba during the 80s was, you know, Christmas or anything that had to do, any days that suggest the West, you know, it was taboo for us. And so we didn't grow up with Christmas tree, didn't know who Santa Claus was, and there was no chimneys in Cuba anyway because they're a Caribbean country. But the very first Nutcracker that I did, I think it was in ENB, in English National Ballet, when I was 18, and that was Ben Stevenson's Nutcracker. And if I remember correctly, I think it must have been in Bristol, in the many tours that ENB was doing. And then obviously I joined Houston Ballet for 5 years. That is the most popular show. We got like 50 shows every year, and that show make half of the budget of the company. And then apart from the many Nutcrackers that you do in Houston Ballet, you still have room to guest and do the many other Nutcrackers that were there around. And so Nutcracker, yeah. And then when I joined the Royal Ballet, I did it only once, but then I decided to call it a day for the Nutcracker for me. But it's a great Christmas joy. And I think it would be great if we could just resurrect it somehow, you know, for the audiences in that major scale. In the context of the Royal Albert Hall, it would be just a wonderful thing. My biggest aspiration is obviously to take the Birmingham Royal Ballet to Cuba, to Havana, and to share this wonderful company with the Cuban audiences, and also to share it with Acosta Danza, which also most likely will be in the bill as well, you know, and that would be the happiest day, you know. And then just have obviously a party, you know, in my house with all these wonderful bands and musicians, and it would be a day for celebration.